Welcome to another edition of Move Through Motivation. I am with a real American hero, a brother in the military, Rob Hernandez, and I'm out of my mind excited to have you on this and share your story, because what you went through is not what I went through in my military service. And in the deepest part of my soul, I think your story will resonate with a lot of people and a lot of troops, veterans, currently serving, will get inspiration from it. And I can honestly tell you from the deepest part of my heart, as an Army veteran, and you're an Army veteran, like the respect I have for you, you know. And how I met you was a unique story. We met 2018.
That's right. Yeah.
Right at the Open,
Yep.
for the CrossFit Open at Chino CrossFit, and it was a Saturday workout.
Yeah.
And I felt like we kind of were like going through a drill. It was weird because we vibed right away. I'm like, this guy's military. I can tell this guy's military. I could tell by his mannerisms and encouragement. Like, I'm like, okay, we're gonna get along well. And you crushed it. And you know, we've been buddies since, and we've done Veterans Day workouts together. And it's been an honor to meet you. And today I want your story told. And I want to go back to when you joined, the highs and the lows, dwell in the lows, but get into the highs of where you're at now, and really how you're helping. And the reason I love having you on this podcast and telling your story in particular is because, number one, I know you. Number two, I know that you believe in God. And number three, what you're doing now will probably help people get out of a darkness that a lot of them are in, and your own brothers that you serve with. So, Rob, take the floor, brother.
Well, first, thanks a lot. I really appreciate this opportunity, Matt. I've never, you see these things done, you hear about them, you listen to them, and you never really think that this is something that you're going to be able to be blessed and kind of partake in. So thanks a lot for the opportunity to kind of share my story.
It's by the way, it's an honor for us, because I really want to say you are a hero. And let's go.
Well, thanks. Well, for starters, wow, I joined back. I actually joined the Army in the summer of 2000. I think the day after my 17th birthday. Kind of gave my mom an ultimatum. I said, either, now mind you, this is 2000s, nothing was going on. And I told my mom, I said, look, I really want to join the service. The way I sold it was just, because I was 17, she had to sign the waiver as a single mom, so she signed it. But the catch, or what I told her was that if you let me do this, that's great. Maybe I'll do something else. But at least I'll have this to fall back on. But it was always at the forefront of my mind that this is exactly what I was going to do.
Like from a kid or
I
in high
knew
school?
my
Recruiter.
No, before. So when I was a lot younger, we used to go to the El Toro Air Show every year when it was going on, and I remember being really fascinated with all the equipment and the weapons, but more so with just the soldiers or the Marines that were there at the time. So I was always asking them questions, just hanging around them, and they'd point to the airplanes. I'm like, yeah, no, it's okay. I want to look at this. So I think I was about 7 or 8 when I knew I was going to be in the military.
Really?
And what capacity? I have no idea. But I was going to do something that they were doing.
You want to wear the uniform?
I wanted to wear the uniform. Yeah. And that just stayed with me. I was in, and maybe my parents brushed it off, maybe not. But that day is when they realized that I was always serious, even as a young kid, that I was going to do something to that effect. So my mom signed the waiver. I was the summer between junior and senior year, so I continued on. My senior year, I was, and at the time it was called the pulley system or future soldier system, what is known now, where you sign the contract, but you're just waiting to ship out until you graduate. So I graduated high school, shipped out within a week and a half, I think. And I had enlisted for airborne infantry. That was
when you enlisted, you already.
Yeah, they said you want to be a tanker. Would you like to do anything in logistics? And my grandfather, it's funny, actually, I got to back up. I was going to join the Marine Corps. And my grandfather was a Ranger, and he served in World War II. Okay. And he stormed the beaches as a Ranger in World War II. Wow. So he never talked about his military career with me ever.
Really?
Until I told him that I was going to join, and then he sat me down. He's like, when you go, you want to be a Ranger. Don't go, you want to be in the Army, be a Ranger. I'm like, okay, Gramps, whatever you say. And then when I sat down with the recruiter, and then I asked him what being a Ranger was all about, he told me, and my recruiter was a Ranger. So he really kind of
high speed.
Yeah, he's super high speed guy. So he told me what it was all about, and I was like, I don't need to see a video. I don't need to see a video. Just tell me in your own words, what is it that you do, and what is it that you love to do? What is it that you love about it? So he gave me like from the heart kind of conversation, which I appreciated at that time. That's what helped me make my decision to sign to be an airborne infantryman, and then I ultimately become a Ranger. But so I signed I signed on the dotted line, and high school finished. I shipped out and went straight to Fort Benning, Georgia.
After senior year?
After senior high school, graduate a week and a half later. They shipped me out. 17-year-old kid still, because my birthday's in August, so I have a late birthday. Never been away from home more than a couple of days at a friend's house, maybe. Never been on an airplane in my life at that time. Nothing. I wasn't sheltered, but I didn't go too far.
You got shell shocked for sure.
Yeah. So first time on an airplane, I'm going to boot camp
by yourself.
By myself.
Not with mom and dad.
Not with mom and dad.
Just orders.
Just orders. There was a few other people from California who we all went to the MEPS together, and then they shipped us out.
And you're lost. You have no idea.
And we're like, what do we do? They're like, someone will be on the other side to pick you up. And we're like, okay. So we were flying over there, and I can distinctly remember one of these guys singing, leaving on a jet plane, don't know when I'll be home again. And that really, really stuck with me ever since. So we land, and there's a drill sergeant there. Well, mind you, I think we were surprised on how nice this guy was. We're like, what? These are drill sergeants? This guy's nice. Well, come to find out, these drill sergeants are on their way out. So their just job is to pick the people up, take them to the base, and that's about it. So I'm like, okay, it's not so bad. We get to reception. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. 30th AG, which is the reception battalion, you go at Fort Benning, Georgia. Everybody gets processed through there and pushed out. So because it was the beginning of summer, there was a summer rush. So we were stuck in 30th AG reception battalion for 30 days. It's supposed to be 3 to 5 days. And
that's like being in purgatory.
It's exactly what I was going to say.
Purgatory is real, if you believe in it. It's you're waiting with people who are excited, and you're just stuck.
Yeah,
right? You can't do anything.
Now imagine you have those many guys in one place.
Testosterone.
Yeah, all kinds of silly things happen. Guys are trying to break out, and we're going to the train station, and drill sergeants already knew the route, so they'd go there, wait for them, bring them back.
It's almost like jail, like being in like a holding cell.
Yeah, I would assume that's what it's like, but yeah, it's exactly what
it's got to be what it's like.
It was ridiculous, and we weren't allowed to really work out too much because they didn't want us to get hurt. So it was just really weird limbo thing going on, and then finally we got picked up. I'm like, yes. And the first experience I had was I remember his name was Drill Sergeant Burleson.
Burleson.
Yeah, he wasn't our senior drill sergeant. He was one of the other drill sergeants.
You remember his name?
I remember.
2000, so that's
I remember
years ago.
all of their names.
But that was definitely one. Burleson.
Yeah, because he stuck out because at that time, you didn't have cell phones barely existed, and let alone no smartphones. Yeah. So I had my little cell phone, my Nokia cell phone, and then they weren't allowed, but I had it in my bag. So they before we even get to the bus, they pull our bags out. Drop your bags, dump them. And he sees my cell phone, he grabs it, and he chucks it against the wall, and it shatters my cell phone. He's like, you won't be needing that. And I was like, and then I had a little fun saver camera. He gets my camera and smashes it. You won't be needing that. And I was like, is this real life? What's going on?
Mom, where's my mom?
At that point, I was like, oh, what did I get myself into? But I still wasn't regretting it. It was such a shock.
Yeah.
We get on the buses, and they're yelling at us. We get on the bus, and then we show up to Sand Hill, which is part of the base where infantry basic training is held. So we go, and I'm assigned to Charlie Company 150th Infantry Regiment, which is the infantry battalion for a boot camp battalion. So we're there and going through boot camp, and at that time, I played baseball, but that was about it. So the physical aspect of it was pretty challenging for me at that time. But they got us all in shape, and my platoon was the Ranger platoon. Okay. So everybody who had an Airborne Infantry Ranger contract was in that platoon.
Yeah, you're 11 Bravo going in. Is that your MLS?
Yeah.
What's your MLS
11.
going in?
So 11 Bravo.
11 Bravo.
Infantryman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But you had a contract to go into the.
Yeah, it's called option 40. So when you sign, you get different options, and that's the one for infantry, Airborne Infantry Ranger. So the Ranger platoon, we all of our drill sergeants were Rangers. Our senior drill sergeant, his name was, he was a Puerto Rican guy named Arzuega, Drill Sergeant Arzuega. He was sergeant first class, and he didn't say much. He didn't even yell, but what he did was
Crush your soul.
Yeah, he would go, all right.
Without words, he crushed your soul.
We knew it was coming when he would say, all right, privates, and then that's when the other drill sergeants would just come and attack. And there was one particular point where I left my wall locker unsecure. You know, you have your bunk bed and you have your wall locker and your foot locker. Well, I thought my combination lock, I pressed it closed because we were running early to formation. I'd hear the click, but I was like, all right, I think it's locked. I ran out, went to formation, and we did PT, physical training, every morning at 05:45 PT. 2-hour PT session, get back, and my entire wall locker is tossed. And they took my shaving cream and put all my shaving cream over everything. And then they wrote, oops, on my locker with shaving cream. And I was like, oh, and Joe Sarna's like, Hernandez, he basically had me move my bunk bed, my wall locker. He made me move it outside for the day. And then that was where I had to stay because he needed to see cute people.
It's so awkward too, right? I mean, when this happens, you're like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
This guy's making me stay outside.
Outside for the whole day and the night. And
that tiny thing of just leaving the locker open.
Mm-hmm. It was the biggest thing that they teach you, or, you know, it's hindsight's 2020. You learn this as you're going through your experience, but when you look back, you realize what it was all about. And
detail.
Attention to detail. Yeah. So attention to detail, following orders, because the little things like securing your wall locker or having your boots dressed with the laces a certain way, these things matter, especially later on, because at that time there wasn't a war. But then, you know, all hell broke loose on 9/11, and at that point we were on that day, I believe it was a Tuesday. We were on the rifle range qualifying.
You're still in basic.
I'm still in basic training, qualifying at the rifle range. It was the last day, and I'm on the firing line, and they're giving the commands from the tower. And
so you're the same time zone being in Georgia as New York.
Yeah, okay. East Coast, Eastern time zone. Yep.
So you're right in the thick of it.
Mm-hmm. And I got 2 shots in on the 25 and the 50 meter target. I remember I hit it and I was like, you know, nervous, but because I was worried about qualifying and I really wanted to shoot expert that day. And then we hear ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire from the tower. And the drill sergeant team were like, what's going on? We're like, oh man, someone's probably injured or who knows what.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, drill sergeants say, you know, we get the commands to lock and clear our weapons, move off the firing line, step back, and then we see all the drill sergeants huddling together. We're like, what's going on? And then one of the drill sergeants on the far end of the lane was running across yelling, they just hit the second tower. We're like, what is that all about? And the company commander, which you never see in boot camp, the captain came out there and put us all in a horseshoe formation. And I remember him saying very vividly, if you aren't taking your training seriously, this ish just hit the fan. You better take it serious now.
I'm getting chills right now, bro. I'm getting chills. I can only imagine what that's like.
I was 18 at the time. And so I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, we've just been attacked. Both towers, the twin towers, both towers have been hit. We don't know what's going on, but be prepared for war. And we knew nothing yet. Nobody knew anything. And so we had to carry on. And the crazy thing was, it didn't hit me at the time, but we had a guy in my platoon who was from New York who was affected by that. His mom was in one of the towers, unfortunately. And he left. He left and he came back.
Did he really?
He came back.
Did he really?
He came back. But the rest of that day was just surreal because here we are, you know.
Like you're in the beginning. Like this is the beginning of your journey.
And,
and it's kicking off.
And it started. Yeah. And, you know, things that you join the service and you I mean, of course you're in the military, so you can expect the level of possibility of things happening. But probably the most horrible attack on our country happened while I was in boot camp.
Yeah.
So we qualified, we all shot, and they made sure that we didn't leave until we the entire company shot expert. We stayed out there for that reason. They wanted us all to shoot expert, so we shot and shot and shot. So we all got that done and squared away. But because we were not qualified with our weapons, at that time the bases were guarded by just the military police. Nowadays they have military police and they have federal police, a lot more federal police to guard the gates, checkpoints. But at that time it's just military police. So since we were all qualified with all weapons, we had to do rotations on the gate guard while in boot camp. 12-hour shifts for that whole week. So they extended our boot camp a week because of that. It was all hand on deck. So we were, they brought out the Bradleys. They even brought out some of the tanks. On the gates.
Yeah, it was a strange time at that time at all military bases, because when you could go into a military base before 9/11, you could go into a military base with your basic ID.
Mm-hmm.
After 9/11, even at reserve centers where in my state, they would literally all the Humvees, the PLSs, everything would be lined up at a gate because nobody knew what was going on. Right?
Yeah. So. And eventually did come out who was involved and whatnot.
It changed the game.
It changed the game.
Changed the game.
At that time, our focus was, even though we weren't in Cold War anymore, obviously, but our focus was to go against the Russians.
Yeah.
That's the way we trained, a lot of trench warfare and whatnot. And then, so 9/11 happens, I graduate. Fast forward, I graduate, nothing really eventful. Oh, yeah, there is one. My birthday. I turned 18, August 19th. In boot camp, I turned 18. And August 19th of 2001. And it was raining that day. It was Georgia. It's hot, humid, and it just pours cats and dogs. So it was another guy's birthday, and then we're talking about it. I was like, you can tell me your birthday? I was like, I'm not saying anything. Or you can tell me your birthday? I'm not saying anything. And the drill sergeants were, in our eyes, they were something else. So we get through the whole day of whatever we were doing, and it was pouring cats and dogs. And it was about 10:30 at night. We're toe the line. So in the middle of the squad bay, we call it the kill zone, where you're not allowed to touch, and it's probably the most waxed spot in the whole bay. And they yell, toe the line. So there's a line all around it, and you'll toe the line, literally. So we're there in form of, position tension. They're like, Hernandez, and I think it's Hernandez Zakowski, posting the kill zone. We're like, oh, man. And none of the guys knew it was our birthday, so they were looking. I was like, what did you guys do? Like, we're about to get it because of you. What did you guys do? They're like, they failed to let y'all know that it's their birthdays today. So they made them all sing happy birthday to us. And then we all did 18 push-ups because we both turned 18. They're like, all right, carry on. We're like, okay, we're in the clear. They're like, so lights out, and we're getting the bunks. Like, Hernandez. Oh, and the other guy, they couldn't pronounce his name. So because they couldn't pronounce his name, if they can't pronounce your name, they just call you Alphabet. Like, Hernandez and Alphabet, get downstairs. So we get down there, and it's pouring, and we call it the pit, which was a volleyball field, but it's a pit. They took the net off.
That's right.
And it's all just muddy and soaking and slobby or whatever. And at the end of the pit there, they created about a 3-foot tall mound of mud. They're like, there's your birthday cake. Get on the other side and low crawl to it and have some cake.
Wow.
So we low crawled all the way over there. We had some cake, and they made us dig into it. And what they did was they hit a Snickers bar. And they made us share it. They're like, eat it right now. You got 30 seconds. We're like, all right, cool. That's worth it. And,
but you remember that 20 years later.
I remember
that. You literally remember that. Like,
clear as day.
Yeah. Those memories.
Those memories are what helped shape me, I think, as a young man.
Yeah.
And
perspective.
A lot, my mom, I love my mom to death, and she did everything she could, and she did a lot of things for me.
Yeah.
Growing up without really a father figure, that's where I got it from. It was from my drill sergeants.
I think that a lot of guys, I've met many of them who didn't have found that their closest thing to a dad was drill sergeant.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Because they were hard on you.
Mm-hmm.
But in some crazy way, drill sergeant Dobbins is forever endowed in my head. Like, they have such a unique capability of getting you to another level you never thought you were capable of.
Yeah.
And it's a special relationship. Whether anybody going through it's a really special relationship. So. It was
a tremendous experience, and that's ingrained in my mind for sure.
So let's talk about after you go to 82nd Airborne School.
Yeah, so I graduated boot camp, and then I immediately went to airborne school there, also at Fort Benning, Georgia.
So you didn't go anywhere. You didn't get a weekend off.
I didn't go anywhere. The other guys, they went home for vacation.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, all you airborne guys, great job. Get on the bus.
Walk around the corner.
get on the bus, and then took us to the other side of the base, and then we marched out there, and it was awesome. It's 3-week course, and the point of it is learning how to jump out of planes and how to conduct a parachute landing fall. What I heard myself.
Did you really like jumping out of a perfectly functioning airplane? Because they wanted me to go to air assault school, and Sergeant First Class said, "Hey, Olsen, you qualified." He said, "Well, first of all, I'm supply. Why do I need to do this?" Like, no, you're high speed. You could do this. And like, I don't want to jump on a rope outside of a helicopter. You've lost your mind. I mean, but out of an airplane, I get,
Well, at that kid, I've always been a firm believer of you don't get your feet wet. You just jump in the deep end.
Okay, that's one way to look at
That's
it.
the way. That's the way I am, because I know me. Because the longer I think about something, the more I'm finding.
You're head first.
Yeah.
You go head first then. Okay.
If I think about it too long, I'm finding excuses on why I should not do it. So I avoid that. Okay. So yeah, first time on the plane, going to boot camp. Second time on the plane, I'm jumping out of it. And because of my roster number, I happened to be the first guy in the door. So I was the number one jumper on my side of the C-130. So they gave the commands. They gave the commands. You go through the commands in the bird and stand up, hook up, and then you check your equipment and all this good stuff. So I'm there. They open the door, and then the jump masters out there hanging out of the plane, physically hanging out. And I'm like, at that time, I'm like, why is he outside of the plane? What is he doing? He was doing his job. So red light turns on, and he says, all right, he sees a 30-second mark, and he says, stand by. I hand my static line off to the safety jump master, I turn towards the door, and I'm just there waiting, and I'm looking at everything. And it's 1,500 feet above ground level, so it isn't high, but it's high enough for you to freak out.
Let me. You were 10 feet is really high, man. Okay? Jumping out of it, 1,500 feet.
And I think that was the one time where I asked myself that question. Is this really what you want to do, jump out of an airplane?
And by the way, it's not just you jumping out of the plane. There's guys behind you, right? I mean, there's how many guys behind you?
62 jumpers.
There's 62 people jumping behind you. The person went out the door.
Yep.
This is jumping.
31 jumpers on my door.
Oh my.
Now number one. So I know if I don't go, here's the thing: you don't make your five jumps, you don't graduate. So they're gonna push you out the door because they want to get out.
Okay. All right.
So green light comes on. The jump master yells, "Green light goes!" Smacks my bottom, and I just jump out. Yeah. And that was the start of my airborne career right there.
Did you? I mean, was it really enjoyable? That first rush. I mean, what's it like?
It was such an incredible feeling because as soon as you jump out, you automatically get sucked out. And because the plane's going one way, wind's going the other way, so you do on my door I jumped out and I turned left and went out, and then you count to 4,000, 1,000, 2,000, up to 4,000, and up to 4,000 that's when your chute deploys. And if you're still counting 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, then you got to deploy reserve. Thankfully, it never happened to me. So it's super loud and noisy because you got the engines roaring right over you. And then you jump out, and then it's just a rush of the wind. And then after that 4,000 count, it's just silence. It's just the most peaceful experience I've ever had, where you're 1,500 feet above the ground. You're over the beautiful drop zone, over the the lush green area of Georgia.
Yeah.
And it's just quiet, and you're just seeing all these parachutes deploy behind you, and it's just like a bunch of paratroopers in the air, just enjoying taking it all in. And then jump master's got the bullhorn way down there, and he's yelling at you guys, do this, do that, slip left, slip right. And they're giving you commands from the ground. And
you could hear him.
You could hear him because you could hear a pin drop up there. It's so quiet. And it was probably that was an awesome experience that first time. And that one it was called the Hollywood jump. So the reason why they call Hollywood is because you're not jumping any combat equipment. You're just jumping. That's it, nothing else. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, you do 5 jumps, 2 at night with combat equipment, and those that's the end of your airborne school. So I finished airborne school. It happened to coincide with Christmas vacation, Christmas leave. So went home for 2 weeks, and then January 4th, I reported to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I was assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division.
Proud unit.
Yeah, proud unit.
Great history.
Yeah,
amazing camaraderie.
Absolutely. I think that probably,
At that time too, right? I mean,
especially at that time, you know, some of the units were already in Afghanistan. This is the New Year, so this is after, you know, I think it was around October time frame is when people started deploying, 2001. So I got to the unit. I missed that first Afghan deployment. My unit was already there, so they kept us to train us up, and then um, I got assigned to I got assigned a 2nd Battalion, 325th Airborne Infantry Regiment, which is now part of 2nd Brigade Combat Team in the 82nd. And Falcon Brigade, I was a White Falcon. I got to the unit, and it was just an incredible time. You know, 18-year-old kid and around all these high-speed studs. And they really took me in. I got there, it was a long weekend. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, obviously it was New Year's. So I got to my unit, and they just embraced me like family right away. They took me in. My roommate, he like showed me the ropes, and so happened that he was from California, from Bakersfield. My buddy Garcia.
So immediate bond.
Immediate bond.
Immediate bond with the whole crew.
The whole platoon, everybody. They took us in.
That's unique, right?
Yeah,
That's kind of unique.
A lot of the sergeants weren't there because of the fact that it was a long weekend. So whoever was on CQ, or charge of quarters duty, meaning, you know, they're there 24/7.
Yep.
They're the ones who picked me up and assigned, like, hey, you're going to be here. Here's your room. You'll get more info come Tuesday morning, because it was a 4-day weekend. So they just took me in. And like any other young paratrooper, we drank like fishes. And
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think we slammed back about 230 racks. And
That's right. That's right.
not proud of it, but it was
Hey,
what you did.
Listen. That's what it is. What they do. Okay, we don't say it's what we do. It's what happens.
It was the best time of my life. I learned a lot from these guys that took me in, and there were some hard charges, man. They worked hard and they play hard.
Different level, right?
Yeah. So you know, we did that. We got there, and then we got orders to go to Afghanistan. So we ended up in Tora Bora in the mountains along the Pakistani border. I was looking for Osama, you know, fighting all those guys up there, and still 18 years old. Yeah, and that was crazy hiking up, you know, at 4,000 or 5,000 feet elevation, and just I mean, this is such a mountainous terrain that it was just constantly hiking, no flat ground. We were trying to always look for the high ground, and we got a couple of firefights, and one in particular, these Taliban guys, and we chased them to a cave. And we went in there, and one of the guys in the other platoon got hit on the arm, so we pulled out of the cave, and the local herder that we had with us, who spoke broken English, kind of took him on as a translator, because he spoke Pashto. And he's like, yeah, this cave is shallow, he said. It's only about 50 feet in, and it stops. So their idea was to pull everybody out, and then we're going to just collapse the cave. So I said, Hernandez. I said, yes, Sergeant. They're like, have you ever shot the AT-4, which is the rocket launcher?
Yeah.
I said, nope. Didn't get to shoot it. He's like, well, today's your lucky day. So he gave me the AT-4, and without hesitation,
Collapsed it.
I opened up the sights, the front and rear sights, apertures, and fired it in there, and it collapsed on the inside. And that was the end of that. And at the time, you know, I think I 18-year-old kid, I just killed two guys. And it didn't hit me the way I thought it would. I thought maybe I would be in shock, or like, you know, just it's such a heavy experience, but I was high-fiving my buddies. You know, my squaller just gave me a big old slap on the back. Said, you know, good stuff. Like he used more colorful language, but that's pretty much how it went. And I was on a high that day. And that, you know, that was just the first experience of many where, you know, these things would come back to
Years later.
It would all come back. But so you know, that deployment was very fast. It was only 6 months. It was a very specific mission we had out there, and we weren't like the spearhead or anything like that. You know, a lot of the like Delta was out there. You know, a lot of people were out there.
Right.
We were So we did what
You
we
had
needed
your
to.
mission.
We had our mission. We
6
completed our
months,
mission.
You did your mission.
We came back, and it was awesome. And then we just continued training.
And let me ask you, break real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The training after deployment, did it change the training that you would do differently than before? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, the way I'm not talking about what you did, but your perspective in the way that you trained.
Absolutely,
You know?
because now I had experience dealing with an enemy who had a routine, or they did what they did. So when we got back, the Army did a really good job of trying to sort of mimic that sort of experience by even going as far as hiring outside organizations to play Op 4 or the opposition force and stuff. Before, exactly, or we would do it internally. We still did, but there was a lot of lessons learned that they employed with the training, and the training just got better. A lot of
which saves lives.
Absolutely.
Good training saves lives.
Exactly. You train like you fight. So
that's deployment 1.
That's deployment 1.
How many deployments did you do?
5.
How many did you do?
5.
5 deployments.
5. Yeah.
Wow.
5 deployments.
And what age were you from in these deployments?
So that was my first deployment. I was 18. I turned 19 out there. And then my second deployment was the invasion of Iraq in 2003. And I believe...
Jessica Lynch?
Yeah, I was there for the whole thing. Yeah.
I was right after.
So I was still in the 82nd. I had gone to Ranger School when I got back, graduate Ranger School, and that was such an awesome experience.
Yeah? Better than airborne?
Yeah.
Or different experience?
Different experience altogether.
But
because they both have a very particular job or role, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but that is such a great leadership school.
You're 82nd Airborne, and you're now a Ranger.
Yeah. Now I'm a Ranger.
Now you're high speed.
Now I'm a Ranger.
I mean, besides being down, you were high.
Yeah,
high speed.
I felt that, but there were
19 or 20 when you get to Ranger School.
I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 19 years old, and the thing about the 82nd Airborne, a lot like a lot of other units, they want the leadership to be Ranger tabbed, to have tabs.
Really?
Yeah. So especially the officers, and for platoon sergeants and above, if you want to be in that kind of leadership role, you better have a tab, or else you ain't gonna get
Makes
it.
sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So Ranger School was 62 days, and that was a first time go, thankfully.
First time go.
First time go.
Yeah.
Because think
No
about
rollover,
no rollover,
nothing, huh?
no injuries. The thing about Ranger School is not only can you roll over because of meaning like you have to go back and recycle a specific phase based off because of an injury, but you can get peered out.
Really?
So after every module where you do certain scenarios or whatnot, training sessions, whether you're doing land nav or field time or whatever, you're in groups and they sit down and then you vote on who's the weakest link.
Wow.
And if you get so many demerits, you get peered out, you get dropped.
So first time go.
First time go, thankfully.
Outstanding. So this is before your second or third deployment?
Before my second deployment.
Okay.
So we do a little stint in Peru for a month of training, some cross training with them, got proven jumpings out of it. It was an awesome experience. And then, so everything goes down with the decision to deploy to Iraq. And the thing about the 82nd Airborne, it's part of the 18th Airborne Corps, so it's a quick reaction force, quick response force rather. So they can go anywhere in the world, wheels up within 18 hours of notification from the president. So that was a one time where we get the call. There's there's a call out roster, and you got to be within 2 hours of your unit during that time frame of you got a 2 hour recall window. It could be a few months. So during that time, we always know we're going to get training. So we'll get the call that says, it's a number. I mean, it's a color and a specific thing, a car. Mm-hmm. So if it's this particular color and this car, it's a training scenario, but we're going to go through the whole motions, and we're going to 2 hour recall and train and do this and that. Well, this particular time, we get the one that's associated with the real world call out. It's 2:00 in the morning, and we get the call. And we're like, is this serious? This is really happening. We had an idea it was coming because we knew what was gonna go on. We get the call, boom. And so I told my wife at the time, I was like, hey, I just got the call. She's like, you serious? I'm like, yeah. She was pregnant at the time. So have her drive me to post. We get to my unit, and the military police had already set up roadblocks and concertina wire around the company area. And that was the last place that my wife could be to say goodbye to me there. So they confiscated our phones, and they're like, all right, say goodbye to your families right here. Say goodbye to the wife, and then we get to the company area. We get in there, and they're like, all right, it's game time. We're going to Iraq. Now, prior to this, we had trained a lot on jumping in different altitudes, in different scenarios. They had ramped up the airborne training, the jumping. So we're like, are we going to jump? Are we going to jump? Are we going to jump? And they don't say anything to us. They get us all together, and then they bus us. They get our equipment's ready to go. We're dialed in, and then they bus us to Green Ramp, which is the Air Force side of the base, which is called Pope Air Force Base. And Green Ramp is the airfield area where you go and you muster there, and then you go onto the birds and do whatever you're going to do. So we get to Green Ramp. It's all locked down there. When we get the briefing, we're jumping into Iraq. We're jumping into Baghdad, at that time, Saddam International Airfield. And I'm like, oh man. So it was us, 3rd Ranger Battalion, and some SF guys. And we were going before anybody else. So we they gave us all our ammunition there. We had to show up in civilians. We flew out in civilians. They told our families we were going to Kuwait. We went to Saudi Arabia instead. So we get to Saudi Arabia, and first we get to Germany. We get to Frankfurt. We go to Frankfurt. We go to Frankfurt, and they refit there, and then we get some more briefings about what we're going to do, and then we fly to RR, Saudi Arabia, which is in the middle of the desert. Nothing inside as far as the horizon can see except for one lonely highway and an airport. We get there and feeling pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I'm a new Ranger Tab kid. I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
You've done one deployment.
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
My high horse, proverbial high horse.
Yeah.
I get off the plane and I immediately realize that we're pretty much the redheaded stepchildren there because the CIA was there, Delta Force was there, the Navy the developmental group was there, which is their SEAL Team 6 guys. Anybody who didn't exist was there. And then there we were. And I remember getting off the C-17 Globemaster, and we get off the airfield, and we're walking way out in the distance. There's these tents already set up. And I look to my left, and there's a mock-up of a Chinook helicopter, which has got the 2 big rotors. And there's these guys trying to figure out how many camels they can fit inside of it, because they were going to roll out in camels. They're pushing these camels in. I can hear the camels just like grunting, and then they didn't want to, I guess, budge. And then we're like, wow, that's something else. So I'm like, what's going on?
Most random thing you see getting
Yeah, and then we see like these Nissan Frontier trucks fitted with Mark 19s and 50 cals.
Yeah.
Well, what it was is these guys were going out ahead of everybody and to go knock out Scud sites. So they were going to be out on their own. Scud missiles. Yeah. So we get out there, and we get briefed, and we meet up with the Ranger regiment that's out there. And it was crazy. At this point, I'm 19 already, and we're just training.
Super high speed. Been through all the training.
Yeah.
You're ready for what you got to do.
Yeah. And then,
take care of business, right?
And they issue us our parachutes and all this other stuff. And then, I don't know if I can say this, but remember the series Band of Brothers?
Yeah.
Where their particular part in the first episode, and they're like, no jump today.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to us. They
Really?
said, no jump today.
Really? So you're all hyped up.
We're all hyped up, and then
you are battle ready.
They canceled it, and it was because they did the Blitzkrieg move, 3rd Infantry Division. They beelined it through the desert straight to Baghdad and bypassed all the cities on the way. So they're like, oh, we're here. And I'm like, well, they don't need us to do that anymore. Like, what are we going to do now? So change of mission. We decided they put us all on trucks, and then we flew actually. Let me backtrack. They said we're going to go ahead and hit all the cities that were missed.
Yeah.
From the Saudi border all the way to Baghdad. We're going to go and fight anybody who's in there. The Fedayeen, the Republican Guard, all those guys.
Any bad dudes you're finding.
Any bad dudes. So, here's a funny story. So, the day before, we're like playing a little football game. And one of our guys, Nelson's, gets hit, gets clobbered, and gets concussion. And he's hurting, and he's all right though. And then we played a joke on him, we told him, our platoon sergeant told the medic, hey, tell him you got to do a core temperature. check his core temperature. And he's like, all right, I don't know about all right. So we all, and whole squad's in the tent looking at Nelson and is laid out in this cot. And they're like, hey, bud, we're going to have to check your core temperature. He's like, oh, that's fine. He's like, I don't think you understand. We're going to have to check your core temperature. He's like, okay, go ahead. What do you, ear what? And he's like, no. He's like,
Put your pants down.
exactly. He's like, pull your pants down. He's like, what? So we did it. And we took pictures and we all had a good laugh. And then he realized he didn't have to do it.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. Yeah.
that went down.
So you're cleaning up. You're doing what the mission you thought you were going to be on. Derailed. Different mission.
So they fly us on a C-130 Talon, which is like an armored version. It's like the C-130 on steroids.
Okay.
They gutted this entire plane out. Nothing's in it. They gave us some D-rings and a harness. They said, you're going to strap straight into the floor. Wow. And that's how you're going to sit. This is going to be a quick thing. So we all get in there, packed in there like sardines, and then we take off in the middle of the night. Fly across the border, and this plane's doing that by the earth, so it's real low. And then all of a sudden, he pulls straight up. Come to find out, they're shooting some SAMs at us, some surface-to-air missiles. And then we see the loadmaster literally like stepping on top of us, going to the sides of the portholes and looking, and you can hear the chaff and the flares going off. And then thankfully none of them hit us, but it was scary. Surreal.
You can't control anything.
I was like, we're not even going to get there. We're already going to die. We're going to get blown up in the middle of the air. But we got through that, and we landed in Talil Airfield out in the outskirts in Iraq, in the middle of nowhere. So from there, we wait till morning. We load up on trucks, and we head for the first city. It's called Al Samoa. Al Samoa was big because it had the supply route ran straight through that. There were some bridges that we had to take from the enemy because that was how we were going to get our supplies through, and they were holding it. There were over 500 Fedayeen soldiers in there. Fedayeen, Saddam's son, I believe it was Uday, was responsible and in charge of the Fedayeen, which was basically like a really radicalized arm of the military. They all ran around with bombs strapped to their chests. So if they needed to, they'd just blow themselves up, worst case scenario. So there was over 500 of those guys in there, and we attacked the city and we fought hard for a few days. We took the bridges. A couple of guys got injured, and I remember one in particular got shot in the stomach from another platoon. And at that time I was a RTO, a radio telephone operator for my platoon. I was the radio guy. So I pushed out with my LT, and we went to go meet up with the other platoon. The guys got injured, and we pulled them out, and they had a Humvee. At the time, there were no armored vehicles, no armored Humvees or anything.
That's right.
It was all skin, soft, canvas.
Yeah.
It's canvas doors and whatnot. So we had no doors on. The only way we can get this guy out of there was on one of these regular Humvees that didn't have a cargo area in the back. It was a short one.
Four-seater.
The four-seater.
With a little truck in the back.
Exactly.
Little,
But I don't know.
It's not even a cabin in the back.
Exactly.
Like a full bed. It's a half bed.
If that.
Yeah.
So we had him on a stretcher. We couldn't put him back there. So we stuck him to the hood. We strapped him down, and we sat on top of the hood. And while the medic was working on him, me and the LT were just basically firing off the side, like on the side of the Humvee, holding on for dear life and getting him out of there. And then, well, he made it, but he did die later from his wounds, I guess. But
But you did everything you could.
we did everything we could. The medics did what they needed to do. We got him back to the casualty collection point, and they flew him out. So from Al Samoa, we fought in Najaf, and then Ramadi, and then Diwania, Fallujah, and then Diwania, and then we followed all the way to Baghdad, and that's where we stayed.
And so instead of the easy route of flying in,
Yeah.
you went through city by city to get to your end destination.
Yeah, city by city, liberating every single one.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a real crazy experience because the people genuinely were happy that we were there at the time, because we were getting rid of the flushing of the dudes that didn't belong, that weren't from there, that were basically holding the town's hostages.
Yeah.
And it was unfortunate seeing a lot of the casualties of what those people did to the locals there, and just women, children, men just dead lying around. And We see bodies that were thrown off the top of 5-6-story buildings for whatever reason, I don't know.
Yeah.
We thought maybe they committed suicide, but then we went to the back of the building. There was another 25 more on a pile that were tossed off the top.
And, you're still 19 years old.
Still 19 years old.
You're on your second deployment. And does this seem normal to you at this point? Because when I say normal, like you've been through the training, the elite level training that you've been through, and your mindset at 19 is different than when you're at 38 now. I mean, you just want to come home, right? I mean, that's your thing. You and your buddies come home. What's your mindset? Looking back now, what it was then.
At that time, you're in such tunnel vision. You're not even, because mind you, during the Iraq War in the beginning, we didn't even know when we were going to go home. Well, they told us maybe 6 months, and we were there for a year.
Yeah, 6 months, getting boots on ground. And then landed 1 year.
And then a year. And then so, that was that. But at that time, it was just about getting through it.
That's right.
It wasn't about, we had all the support back home. We weren't thinking about all that. Yeah. None of that. That was another world. We want to get through the day. Yeah. And I remember in Ranger school, the guy, my Ranger buddy, he was much older than I was. I'm like, how are you making this look easy? How are you getting through this? And it stuck with me. And he said, look, man, you gotta break this down, or else you can get overwhelmed with everything that we got to get done. He's like, when you wake up in the morning, just thank God that you woke up, and then just tell him to get you to lunch. And you get to lunch, thank God, and say, all right, just get me to dinner. And then you just break it down in increments.
And that perspective really helped you at the time.
It did, especially not knowing when we were going to go home on a deployment.
That's right. You're like, when's our wake up time? When's our 1 year to wake up? Is that when we landed? Was it when we took off?
Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't know that it was going to be a year until maybe 8 months in.
That's right. We didn't know. We found out October 30th for the Halloween that we were going to be. That was a depressing day.
It was
It was a very sad day. I remember the commander coming in and going, "Hey, we're not leaving today. We're staying here for a couple more. And we got a good date, and it's not now." So So you do this deployment, you make it home again.
Make it home.
And you do 3 more.
3 more.
When does your accident? Which deployment did you?
It was on the last deployment.
Your 5th deployment.
Yeah, we were in Talafar in the north. And we're just running we did a mission. We were, we did what we needed to do. There was no issues. People we went to go get, they came quietly. It was great. We took a different route back. You purposely don't take the same route because then they get used to that and they put bombs there. Well, we took a different route back, and I guess it just got lucky with us. They stuck 3 105 millimeter howitzer rounds together, and they stuck them in a culvert under the road, which it's a drainage system. They stuck it in there. They figured it may as well be really big enough so that it'll destroy whatever's above the dirt of the road. So, and you can kind of get a sense that something's going to happen when you don't see anybody out, not a soul is out, because they kind of know that something's there. So they avoid that area, and then because they know a bomb will go off, they don't want the locals don't want to be anywhere near that. Well, in this particular time, it was just business as usual. People were all out.
Or you passenger?
I was on the gun actually. So at this point, I'm already a staff sergeant, and they needed a volunteer for the gun. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And these times you had a 5-point harness you would wear, and it would buckle into the vehicle. And what that was for is if the vehicle rolls over, you're not going to go flying out and they can pull you in. Well, in this particular time, I didn't have a 5-point harness because I had just volunteered last minute to help out. So there's a strap there you sit on, and that's it. That was all I had. Well, we were driving on the way back and over this culvert, and they blew it up. And what saved my life was the fact that I wasn't secured to the vehicle. Had I been secured to the vehicle, I would have died. It threw me out of the vehicle. The vehicle flipped on its side, and it threw me out. And I was took shrapnel to my back and my right shoulder, my right chest, pec, and I was on fire. Didn't know, it was out cold. All I remember was we're going back, and then a quick, what seemed to be like a high-pitched sound, and then flash, and that was it. Lights out.
That fast?
That fast. I was out. I wasn't aware of anything. They said I had came to, but I don't recall that at all. and then I passed back out. They took me to whatever cache. I think it might have been 29 cache out there. And then I woke up in Walter Reed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I woke up there.
So you see 130 straight from they bypassed Ramstein.
They took me to Ramstein, but they had me in an induced coma. They had me in a coma, and I woke up at Walter Reed.
Which I've been on these C-130s when they brought you back. When I got brought back too, I was on extreme pain medication, and the things that I saw on that plane have forever been ingrained in my mind.
Yeah.
And I mean, to wake up in Walter Reed, a flashbang, and to do
it was I was burned over 60% of my body. I had third-degree burns on my right chest, my shoulder, and my back. I had a big piece of shrapnel stuck in my back.
Did they take it out before you got to Walter Reed?
Yeah, they took it out. I believe at the cache, they took it out. They stabilized me there as best they could.
Which, by the way, when you were at a cache, it's not normal hospital. It's what they could do to keep you alive, right?
Exactly.
To get you to a hospital. That's exactly what happened. So there were people that were on the plane with me that had shrapnel still in their throat, in their stomachs. The guy next to me, I was so doped up on morphine. When I was looking at the guy, he wouldn't answer me.
Wow.
And I was frustrated. I'm like, but he got his neck was pretty much blown off. He was stitched all the way around when we landed. And we were in a hospital bed all the way till we landed in the U.S. And it was.
It was a really tough time in my life because
Yes, sir.
it was real dark and I wasn't really big in faith at the time. Like, I believed in God, but just like I believe in my neighbor.
Yeah.
He's there. I know he's there, but I don't really have a relationship with him.
Yeah.
So, it was really dark during those times, especially on the morphine, and it was really hard to come off the morphine after the fact.
Yeah, but
it was tough.
Yeah, it's a scary thing, right? I mean,
I especially I had 5 skin graft surgeries, 7 surgeries in total.
crazy pain.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was tough, but all I kept thinking was, like, I got to get back.
Sure.
So, it healed up. Took me some time, and during that time of my healing, the big army says, you can't keep doing. We're gonna do something else with you, and for the meantime, get you the care you need. So, I got stuck on recruiting duty. Still with sutures. I was on recruiting duty, so it was pretty.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it, right?
For instance,
I lost it on a sergeant first class because he wanted me to pick up trash at Fort Lewis. I was only an E5, and this guy wanted me to pick up trash on the side of the freeway. I had to go to the IG with that one because I told this first sergeant, the first sergeant got involved. My first sergeant, if this guy tells me to pick up trash, I had a neck brace on, and you want me to go pick up trash? I lost it.
I didn't do well in the word transition unit. I was like, I need to be active. I can't.
But here, correct me if I'm wrong. You are not with your unit. You're an 82nd Airborne Ranger soldier, and you are not with the people who you bleed with, bred with, and did all this stuff with. I mean, scary place to be, right? I mean. It
is very. It's
because you don't know where you belong.
Yeah, I was very irritable. I was disgruntled. I didn't belong there. I wasn't with my family, my brothers. Yeah. It was tough because it was a while before I actually got to see my family. You know what I mean?
It's a very scary place to be.
Yeah, it was really hard and trying time. And then especially on recruiting duty, you're just kind of on your own again. It's you're in the Army, but you're not. It's really a weird environment.
You're like a salesperson trying to sell people to join.
While you got,
why you got mental issues that you really have not dealt with.
I got, I'm still bleeding where my sutures are, and someone's asking me, is it dangerous? I'm like, well, yeah, it can be dangerous.
Listen, we both wore the uniform. We love the military. We love our country. We believe we were good soldiers. But at some point, where is the logic in any of this? You know what I mean? It's a really scary thing to say that maybe we needed some mental health in this venture that we were in, not so much. I don't know. It's
from what I understand, the Army learned a lot of lessons. They're doing really good about that stuff now.
But what I'm saying is and that's what I mean. Hindsight 2020. They didn't know what to do.
Nope.
I mean, And here we are. You're how old now recruiting? How old are you recruiting?
At that time, I think
23, 24?
20, 26.
26?
Yeah.
So you're actually E6, so
Mhm.
that's why you're a recruiter.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I mean, so you fit the slot you need to be in.
Yeah. So
But you're messed up. Let's just be real. You're really messed up.
It did the recruiting time, and it did help me to heal. Gave me opportunity to do my physical therapy and everything else, and be in an environment where I was close to home, my hometown, which I appreciated.
I understand completely, brother. Being at Fort Lewis in wintertime from California, it's raining. I'm Percocet. I don't know the drugs that I was on.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. It was good to come home and just be around a little bit of normal, right?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It was, and that recruiting time just kind of gave me perspective again, and like keep pushing. And that is when I was at my lowest point, I believe, because I kid you not, I was flirting with suicide. I had my pistol in my hand, and I loaded it, and it was a dark time. I got divorced. It was a dark time, and then they moved out of state, and I was on all these medications. I didn't want to deal with them anymore, so I loaded my pistol, put it to my head, and I pulled the trigger, and it malfunctioned.
Did it really?
It malfunctioned, and that's when I realized, okay, there's more to my life that God obviously wants to do with than this. And it was I'm gonna be honest, it was a very selfish moment in my life that I chose to go that route. Because at that point you can't think past your own pain and suffering. You can't see past it. And for whatever reason, I had a moment of clarity after that, and I realized that this second and third order effects. You do something, it's going to have several. There's going to be several reactions, and it's going to hurt a lot of people, friends, family. Like, you're never alone, even when you think you're alone. Like, God's with you. And I had this. My parents had this picture. It was my grandma's, and it's an old picture. It's very well known. It's it's about Jesus, and it's about there's 2 footprints in the sand on the beach, and then there's one. And then, I remember looking at that and reading what it said and paraphrasing, but it basically says, why did you leave me alone? He's like, you were walking with me here, but then you weren't. Why did you leave me alone? He's like, no, I was always with you, and this is where I was carrying you. And that's when I realized, at that point, God picked me up and He carried me, literally carried me.
And this is where you change. You think this is where you really grab a hold of your life, get God on your side, and you realize that something's got to change.
Something needed to change.
Something change.
And I made my peace with God, and I basically asked God, I need you in my life. I need you to run the show, because every time I try and take over, I destroy things. So that having a strong and getting really strong in my faith, and things started lining up, little by little here and there.
Not right away.
Not right away. It's never that way.
No, it's kind of like when you're talking about training, right?
Yeah.
The little things you did back in boot camp,
mm-hmm.
the tiny things you did make a bigger change
Yeah.
now in your life.
Right? Yeah. I was still in the Army. I actually still had a few years left on my contract. They weren't going to let me re-enlist to go in depth to do my 20 there. Like, you're done.
Which is another adventure.
So I had a few years left, so I got stationed in Fort Drum, New York, with his newfound faith, which really helped me, because that is where I was able to see with different eyes and a little bit more clarity. In that type of environment God is really needed in that. People need to have really strong moral foundations and whatever direction, because without it, you just go with the wind. As far as what
you go whatever way you want to go that weekend, right?
Exactly.
You're on leave on the weekend and you go and do crazy things, and you're by yourself. You have nobody really to guide you and give you direction. Which by the way is it's like that. I think for high school kids.
Yeah.
I think it's like that in the military. I think it's like that in college sometimes. Like when you don't have direction or mentors around you. I think we lose direction, and I think
because the military in general is so structured.
Yeah.
So I finished my time there quietly. It was a great experience at Fort Drum, New York, on the 10th Mountain Division. I get out I stayed as the E6. I couldn't get promoted because since I was getting out, I couldn't hit the next step.
Got it.
So I get out and I'm like, 2014 at the time, a little bit after that actually, some years, and I'm like, what do I? That was my identity since I was 17. I
Now
grew
you're
up in the Army.
20,
Oh, now I'm
27, 28?
now I'm 31.
Oh, wow.
You know, so,
14 years.
yeah. I didn't. I was like, what am I going to do now? I'm 31 years old. You know, I have college under my belt. So I did what I was in, but this was my life. So, you know, I went to school. I got a degree in business, but and started working in finance.
It wasn't what you were.
It wasn't what I wanted to do. I had some experience in recruiting, so it helped deal with kind of like sales. I hated that job. I had some other jobs, some warehouse jobs, this and that, and great people, but it just didn't. I didn't fit. Nothing fit. And it wasn't a hardworking guy, but I just couldn't continue on with those jobs. It just wasn't me.
You listen. You spent 14 years of your life in the field,
Yeah.
jumping out of airplanes, in tactical situations, in wartime situations, and now you're stuck in a cubicle. That might make you wanna,
Yeah, go crazy.
like lose your mind. And what am I doing?
Yeah.
Which is not bad, but I mean, what you've been, it's completely off of what you were.
It wasn't
right?
fulfilling in any way.
And this is what I really like, because I think we pick up here in 2017, 2018 when we met. I'm going through my cancer treatment. You become an Army buddy to me, and I always like meeting fellow veterans. You were there for me during a very dark time in my life, and we heard each other's story, and you were like inspiration to me, and with your daughters and your wife. I'm just like, I saw you change from 2018 to now. Where are you at now? Because you got out of the office job, and now you're back in those mountains again.
Yeah.
In the earlier story, you talked about where you were at when you're in Afghanistan, like the terrain. Now you're in doing what and helping people.
Yeah. So, I decided to try CrossFit reluctantly. I was really overweight. Just my body was not cooperating, and my doc's like, if you've done so much in the military, you need to work out, or else you'll fall apart. You need to stay in shape. Your joints are gonna give out on you and whatnot. So I do that CrossFit. I get pointed to CrossFit, and that first week I meet you, and it was my first week was the 2018 Open. And my second day at the CrossFit box, was the first day of the Open. And I'm doing deadlifts, and you're yelling at me. And I remember you put your Army PT shirt right there. That's right. You draped it on the other bar for me to look at.
At the Open, right? I said, this is what you're doing it for. Remember this. Right?
So that community.
And you crushed that workout, by the way.
It crushed me for sure.
Yeah.
But that community, I hadn't felt that type of camaraderie since the military.
I agree 100%.
And people say, it may sound like a cliche, but it's true. CrossFit community is such a family type of environment. So there's that, and then, but I still needed, I wanted a career that was fulfilling, something I love to do.
It wasn't in a cubicle or
an office and,
selling finances, you know what I mean?
And I'd never thought about being a firefighter. My wife's like, why don't you try firefighting? I don't want to do that. She's like, no, there's wildland firefighting. So I'm like, what is that? So we go to this orientation day, which actually I just came from today for the new guys. So this orientation, I go drop a resume. The interview process went through. I get hired on the hand crew, which is a part-time on-call crew. And the second I put that pack on, I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
And I'm going to tell you this right now. I watched you in your training, and I saw something different inside you in the box. Like, your motivation, when I first met you, I wouldn't say you were in a dark place, but you were different, right? And maybe it was just because you were nervous about CrossFit, but you go into your training, and man, I see a spark in you like you're 17 years old again.
Yeah.
But you're doing something that I think you're making an impact. You're helping people, and I think you found your calling, brother. I mean, you're responding to emergency situations. It's got that dangerous. It's dangerous. It's not easy. You know what I mean? But you're doing it in a different light, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
while in firefighting, being on an engine crew, on a hot shot crew, these positions, it's incredible. It's a blessing to be able to do it. And like you said, you're helping the community. You're helping others. You're putting everybody else before you. And now, honestly, I've come to realize that calling on my life isn't necessarily firefighting per se or anything like that. It's servitude.
Right. And you served your country.
Yeah.
You know, you did your job very well, to the point of almost giving your life, literally almost giving your life, and you got out of that dark hole. And even when you got out of the dark hole, you do what you're supposed to do. You go to college, you get a degree, you do all that stuff, and then it's still not fulfilling.
Yeah,
you're not serving anybody, right?
Exactly. I was checking all the boxes.
Yes.
And the thing was, it was about me. But once I took my eyes off of me and put it on everybody else, that's when it clicked. Like this is what being happy is about. This is what having a calling on your life is about. Is when you are in it for other people, and that's why what you do is incredible, because you're just, whether it's having a direct hand in someone's life and changing them for the better, or just motivating the masses in general. I see that in you, and I see that that's your calling. That's amazing, and I'm so proud and honored to be your friend.
Rob, I truly am grateful for you taking the time to share your story, and I know that this will resonate with hundreds, thousands and thousands of people, your story, and where you were at, where you started a high-speed 17-year-old kid going to the darkest lows in your 20s, 30s, to now it's inspiring. And for kids that are going to join the military, for people that are in the military, and especially for those that are in our situation, past military, trying to find their way. Yeah. I think you have a gift, and you're one of those rare unicorns that are out there,
I will say this, I don't want to turn anybody off from the military. If you ask me, would I do it again in a heartbeat?
Yes.
I would not change a thing.
Yeah.
But I will say, and thank you, by the way, is that if you can surround yourself with good people, positive people that have an influence and build you up on your life, and you focus on just everything else about yourself. If you just find that niche where you're good in, and you surround yourself with good people, and quite honestly, it just really, I'm losing my train of thought.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is you're look, what I think you're doing is that you are going to help people in the service that you provided and the people you put you around with. Certain drill sergeants, certain officers, certain leaders now that you're around with and putting yourself in these environments, it's going to make you a stronger person, more resilient in especially life situations. And when people come to you for advice, you're not giving them fluff. You're giving them real talk. And it will help people get to the next level with what you do. And that's really what I want to share, man. Your story is your tale of what you've seen and how you've came through the fire and out. Your military service is outstanding. You serve this country proud. You're a proud veteran. You're a proud soldier. And now it's time, even after you've paid your duty, to still continue to serve by helping those that need it. And that's who you are as a person, right? You didn't, that pistol didn't go off.
No.
And thank God. I mean, really thank God that it malfunctioned and that you have this opportunity.
Yeah.
To make, I think God said, okay, no, Rob, I'm not done with you yet. Yeah. Now, I want you to make an impact and change people's lives. And this is a start to it. And as many people as I could get this out to, as many people as veteran organizations that I could pass this story along and share, I will, because there's people out there that need this kind of talk, this real talk, this truth, and from darkness of shadows and bad times to now where you're at is just amazing. So I love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Thank you very much for this experience.
I'm super pumped to see what happens with you in your next adventure and fighting fire. So
thank you.
God bless, bro.
God bless.
Take care.
Thank you.